بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. One of the jurisprudential rules or maxims is قاعده لاتعاد, the rule of لاتعاد, which means it's not repeated. This rule is a rule which is commonly used in fiqh, but in kitab salah it's about salat. It's not about other things. It's only about ritual prayer. And the idea is that you don't repeat your salat, means you don't need to repeat your salat, if you realize that there was an issue. For example, you realize you didn't do qira'ah. Suratul Hamd, you didn't recite. Qul huwa Allah, you didn't recite. Tashahhud, you didn't recite. Okay? You don't repeat your salat. Means you don't have to repeat. If you want to repeat, it's not a problem unless you become waswasi. But if you want to repeat, it's not a problem. But you don't need to repeat. There are 5 things that you have to repeat. Apart from those 5, you don't need to repeat. But please listen till the end of the lecture, because there are also actually other things, but we will explain why we don't say those now. I think in order to have an idea, it's better first to start with the hadith, which is the basis of this rule, and then we talk about the rule further. If you have in your book, there is a hadith which is sahih, it's authentic hadith, that Zurara quotes from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Zurara was a companion of Imam Baqir and Imam Sadiq. Imam Baqir alayhi salam, according to this hadith, said, لا تعاد الصلاة إلا من خمسة. Salat is not repeated except in 5 cases, for 5 things. For these 5 things you have to repeat, but apart from these 5, you don't need. At-tahur, al-qibla, wal-waqt. Sorry, at-tuhur. At-tahur is what makes you tahir. At-tuhur, wal-waqt, wal-qibla, wal-ruku' wal-sujud. If you don't have wuzu, and after salat you realize, I said my salat, then I realized that I didn't have wuzu. Not that you doubt. No, you realize that you didn't have wuzu. Or al-waqt, you say your salat, then you see your watch, oh, it was half an hour before zuhr. So you have to repeat. Wal qibla, you say your salat after realize that qibla was opposite direction, for example. Wal ruku', you didn't do 1 or more of ruku'. Even 1 ruku', if you don't do it, salat is void. Was sujud, also sajda. Thumma qala, then Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, al-qira'atu sunnatun. والتشهد سنة والتكبير سنة. Qira'ah is not one of those five. Tashahhud, takbir are not those five. They are sunnah. What does sunnah mean? Sunnah here doesn't mean mustahab. This is a new terminology. In recent centuries, we say sunnah and we mean mustahab. Here, sunnah is opposite to farida. What is farida? If you are familiar with Kitabul Earth, you know farida is an obligation which is mentioned in the Quran. If something is not mentioned in the Quran and we have learned it through the sunnah of the Prophet, we say it is sunnah, not fariza. Quran says you have to have wuzu. إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. Quran talks about wuzu. Qibla. Quran says you have to face Qibla. Yes? Raki'een, sajideen, ruku, sujud are in Quran. But does Quran say that in Salat you should have qira'ah or tashahhud or taslim? No. This is what we have learned from Sunnah of the Prophet. Prophet, for example, we have in Hadith said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Say your prayer as you see I am saying my prayer. He was teaching them how to say the prayer. So some fundamental, basic parts were introduced by the Quran itself. Some were introduced by the Prophet. Of course, among the things that the Prophet introduced, he also introduce some recommended things like qunut, for example, or some extra zikr or whatever, or azan and iqama, which are not wajib but they are very highly recommended. Okay, so Imam said al-qira'atu sunnah wat-tashahhudu sunnah wat-takbiru sunnah وَلَا تَنْقُضُ السُّنَّةُ الْفَرِيضَةَ. Sunnah does not break fariza. What does it mean? It means that if you have managed to bring fara'id, missing sunnah cannot demolish those fara'id. If you have done your fara'id, means those parts which are mentioned in the Quran, and you have just missed the parts which are introduced by the Prophet in his Sunnah, this would not damage your Salat. Okay? This is the Hadith which is Sahih, and it is the basis of this rule. Now, there are few things that we have to clarify. One is, when this rule is applied, is it applied after Salat is finished or even during Salat? The answer is it's only applied after Salat is finished. If during Salat you realize that you have missed something which is wajib, then this rule would not be applicable. But this is about knowing that you have missed it. I repeat, doubting is another issue. We will talk about قاعده التجاوز والانفراد when you doubt. This is about someone who knows that he has not said his tashahhud, he has not said his qira'ah. He knows. So, ulama say this rule is only for people who realize afterwards. Because, first of all, it says لاتعاد الصلاة. When your salat has not yet finished, you cannot say it is salat. There must be a salat, and we say you don't repeat your salat. If I tell you don't repeat your salat, what do you realize? It means that you have finished your salat. If I say don't repeat, for example, visiting that place, it means that you have been to that place, and I say don't repeat. So it has to be afterwards. This is one point. Another point is that when we say if there is a problem in other wajibat of salat, mustahabat, of course there is no problem if you miss mustahabat. But if you miss a wajib other than these 5, it can be by increase or by decrease. Sometimes you have failed, you have missed tashahhud, for example, or maybe you have done it twice. After salat, you realize that you had extra tashahhud, you had extra salam, for example, you have extra surah hamd. It doesn't make difference. It seems that the rule can include ziyada and nuqsan. Okay? Ziyada and nuqsan. Whether you have added something or you have missed something, except for those 5 things that if you add or if you reduce, you have problem. When it comes to ruku, there is problem. When it comes to sujood, there is problem. Of course, wuzu is not a problem to have to wuzu. In case of wuzu, ziyada doesn't apply. Or qibla, you cannot say, I am double facing qibla, double, doesn't make sense. So, whatever makes sense, if you do extra or less, other than those 5 is not a problem. In these 5 would be problem. Another issue, is this tahara al-hadathiyya or khabathiyya? We have 2 types of tahara. Sometimes our hand or face is najis. This is called khabath, this is najis. You need to wash it. But sometimes you have hadath asghar and hadath akbar. Hadath asghar means you have to make wuzu or tayammum. Hadath akbar means like someone who is junub or haze needs ghusl. Okay? So, if someone has realized after salat that his hand or dress was najis, that's not a problem. Your salat is okay. That tuhur that we said is a problem is wuzu or ghusl, was junub and didn't make ghusl, or was sleeping and woke up and didn't make wuzu. So we mean by tahur that type of tahara. Then there is a question, what about those other things that in Risala, in fiqh, we learn that they are also rukn? Because parts of salat, ajza'u salat, are either wajib or mustahab. Then wajibat are either rukn or ghayr rukn. Yeah? Something which is wajib and rukn means if you add or miss, salat is void. But if it is not rukn and you by mistake you miss, it's not a problem. But those are more than 5. Why here only mentions 5? This is a question. The answer is those other arkan, which are 5, but those 5 with these will overlap and altogether be more than 5. Some of them are are requirement for actually having salat. For example, niyyah. If you forgot to make niyyah, then there has been no salat. So when we say لاتعاد salat, means it has to be salat already. So niyyah is a very important rukn, and if you know that you have no riyah, you have to repeat. Don't use this قاعده and say niyyah is not important if you realize after salat. No, we have other hadiths that says, we understand from them by implication also, that niyyah is needed. But that's a condition for having salat. Otherwise, mahiyatul salat doesn't come into existence. Or takbiratul ihram, the one which is at the beginning. If you don't have it, salat has not started yet. What about the qiyam? Qiyam also, if it is before ruku', ulama say this is implicitly inside ruku'. Because what is ruku'? Ruku' is that you are standing and then bending. So when you say ruku' is missed, it includes whether you have been standing and not bending, or maybe you were not standing at all, and suppose from sitting condition you have gone to bending. They don't say raka'ah. Raka'ah must be standing and going to ruku'. So this would not conflict other evidence that we have that niyyah is important, takbiratul ihram is important in the sense that they are rukn and they don't conflict with each other. Then another question is, what about a person who intentionally doesn't do something? Can someone doesn't say tashahhud and say hadith says tashahhud is sunnah and is not one of those 5 things? No. Anything which is wajib, the least thing that you can understand from wajib is that you cannot intentionally ignore it. Yes? So, any wajib, if it is deliberately neglected, salat has to be repeated. We are talking about people who wanted to bring all the wajibat, but they realized afterwards that, oh, I made a mistake. I forgot. So, Ahmed means the one who does things intentionally, cannot apply this qaida. Okay? Nasi, the one who is forgetful. What about Jahil? The one who didn't know mas'ala. For example, didn't know that he has to make wuzu. Again, here ulama say that it's very difficult to say that this rule includes Jahil. Because Jahil is the one that had the responsibility to bring it. Even in the first place, he failed. We are talking about the people who have said their prayer properly, knowing what to do, but now realize they didn't do one of the things that they properly knew. For these people, there is facility. But if someone is jahil, we cannot say la tu'adu salat. So this is another point. So this rule, it's only about salat. You cannot use it for hajj or other things. It's only for salat. It's not even for wuzu, but it's only for salat. And the main reason for this is Sahih of Zurara from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, in which Imam alayhi salam said, salat is not repeated except for 5 things. And those 5 things are tahara, but tahara al-hadathiyya, in wuzu or ghusl. And niyyah and qibla and ruku and sujood, tahara and time and qibla and ruku and sujood. Then if someone doesn't do other parts which are not rukn, according to this rule, there is no problem. But we said this does not conflict with the fact that niyyah is to be necessarily there. Takbiratul ihram has to be there. We said those are conditions for having salat. Without them, we don't have salat. So automatically, those are there. And also we said it would not include the people who intentionally fail, and it would not include the people who have not learned the mas'ala and didn't know that they must make wuzu or how to make wuzu. This would not include them, or at least it's very problematic and it's not agreed by all ulama. So alhamdulillah, this rule finished, and inshallah what we will do, and I give you a little introduction next session, we have 2 rules which are very similar, but they are not the same. Qa'idatul faragh and qa'idatul tajawuz. And this is for salat, but also can be used for other wajibat, ibadat, which have parts. If after salat, after tawaf, after some wajibat, you doubt, not that you know that you have missed, you doubt, did I say for example, Suratul Hamd, or did I say it properly? You don't need to pay attention. This is called Qa'idatul Faragh, because you have finished. Qa'idatul Tajawuz means when you doubt after you have passed something and have entered the next thing. For example, you are in ruku', you doubt about qiyam. You are in sujood, you doubt about ruku' or qiyam. This is qa'idatul tajawuz, means you have passed it, but still you can be inside prayer. Inshallah, these rules and their evidence and details we can discuss inshallah next week, so that we can do 2 rules inshallah next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.